coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. So you're listening to a Jew in the Galilee who's an Old and New Testament believer. Some of you will be offended and go away. Such it is. Okay. Were the apostles Jews? Was Yeshua a Jew? Did he ever convert? Oh. Was David and Solomon Jews? Oh, okay. Well, go away if you want. Okay, today is the 7th of July. It's 9:03 in the morning, and what we're going to do today is go through Revelation 17 and 18, and you're going to get some new information, courtesy of the Lord, on the beast, the great whore, the 5 kings that have fallen, who the beast is, what he was, what he's going to be, all of this, we're going to cover it. There's not much going on in the news, same old. They're saying Hamas accepted the American ceasefire. They really didn't. They want monitors, or people from other countries to supervise that Israel will adhere to whatever they're talking about. They're talking about a ceasefire that's not going to be in writing permanent, but is an understanding to be permanent, and they want countries to put military there or something like that. So you can see the siege developing if it goes this way. I don't know if it will. It doesn't look like it. Israel's not about to agree to that. Okay? There'll be if they did, there'd be a vote of no confidence in hours against Netanyahu, or a day or something, and be out. So he's not about to do that. Okay, I'm going to jump into the chat while people are coming in briefly, put some posts up, and then we're going to just proceed with the Bible study. We're not going to do any intel news. We got sound and picture. So here we go. I'm going to put a few quick chat posts up there, which will take a minute or two, and wait for the live stream to populate. People will go away. They don't want to wait. I don't know what they want. Okay, I put my posts up. Being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise, and I have no control over who joins in or doesn't. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So somebody had some questions about this, and I got put on the track. Usually that's not always, but sometimes only, not all the time. That's a sign that I should be covering something in the scriptures, because there's more people that are concerned. Okay, so we've covered many times that the daughter of Babylon is America, and we've covered Isaiah 47 and Jeremiah 50 and 51 extensively. America sits on many waters. The daughter of Babylon's on many waters. Atlantic, Pacific, Gulf of Mexico, 8,000 rivers, and probably that many lakes. Plus the Great Lakes are like seas, you know. The other candidates that they promote in the church world is Rome. Rome's got no waters to sit on. In Jeremiah 50:51, we see the believers and the Jews leaving, the Israelites leaving America. The Vatican's occupied by about no more than 300 people, and there's no Jews or real believers living there. The same can be said for Mecca and Medina, which are other church false prophets' teachings, that that's the daughter of Babylon, but there's no Israelites or believers living there to leave, and there's no water there. So those theories are sheerly absurd. It talks about America in Jeremiah 50:51, the mingled people. Have you heard the term the melting pot? It says the nations gather together there. Well, have you ever heard of the United Nations of New York City? Okay, so I could keep going, and I've done it many times, but it's America, okay? It's not Israel. That's the stupidest thing I heard. Israel, the hammer of the whole earth. That's America. Israel with the great voice. Who listens to Israel? You know, come on. Who listens to the Vatican other than a few Catholic countries? The Buddhists, the Muslims, the Hindus, the Pentecostals, the nominal Christians, the atheists, they don't listen to the Vatican, but they'll listen to America. Okay, so we need to cover the daughter of Babylon. So let's just jump in, go to Revelation 17. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore. This is the judgment, the end of the great whore, that sitteth upon many waters. Waters means peoples, that she controls many peoples. Now, let's keep going. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. That means worshiping other gods, okay? And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So they become drunk from worshiping the other gods. You know, like, what did America do with Japan? They conquered Japan. What was his name? MacArthur, you know, exposed the king of Japan as not being a deity, and then made peace with them. Well, what was behind that is they were worshiping the God of America and submitted to America. That's how that works, okay? So he carried me away in the spirit, you know, and Saddam Hussein wouldn't do it, right? They destroyed him. You know, that's how they play. Okay. He carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scar. That wilderness is a dry, parched place. So this could be the pit, okay? But it may not be. A woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. Scarlet's a sign of wealth. Full of names of blasphemy, that's what it is, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay. And the woman was arrayed in purple, that's the sign of wealth, and scarlet again, the same, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a gold cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Okay? Now, this is an allegory, it's not a literalization, okay? This is her attributes. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great. Now, the word for mystery, lost my place, okay. Let's check the word there, although it's in the Greek, it's very difficult to check it. Greek's a lousy language. The New Testament was written originally in Hebrew, not Greek. But, so this thing went from Hebrew to Latin to Greek, and now English. So the New Testament is very erroneous, worse than the Old Testament. Okay. Talks about silence imposed by initiation into religious rites. You see? That sounds like it. Okay? The mother of harlots. The harlots are lesser beings that do that are whores, fornicate the unclean spirits, spiritual fornication, okay? And abominations of the earth, of the whole world. Okay? So the whore is influencing the whole world, dragging them into fornication or worshiping unclean spirits and taking on the abominations that the unclean spirits like. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. So she's killing the saints and then she's getting intoxicated high on it, because the demons are, in favor of that. But it's an allegory, okay? And there's not a literal woman, okay? And with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. I've done this, and I maybe I'll do it again. Where do I start? The District of Columbia. All right. Now, this is something you need to know to understand what we're going to cover today. All right. And I want to give you some facts that you could verify in Google easily. Okay. In the last verse in Revelation, so I'm doing this so you'll understand it, so I'm kind of going backwards. Verse 18 in Revelation 17. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Okay? So it's a city, it's an allegory that represents a city that reigns over the kings of the whole earth. Well, where do all the nations go to meet? Well, the UN, but they all put their embassies in Washington, D.C. Their consulates, which is lesser, go in New York, but their embassies are in Washington, D.C., so they go to Washington, D.C., okay? And also they meet in the UN, but that's more a reference to the daughter of Babylon, but also the whore, because the whore is in control of New York. Okay. Now, Washington, D.C. is a city. It's actually a territory legally. And it's not in the United States. I know that sounds crazy to some of you, but I'll explain it to you. You can verify this. It is in the United States, but it's not. There's 50 pentagrams on the American flag. I did say pentagrams, a demonic sign. Yes, I did. 50, representing 50 states. Washington, D.C. is not represented there. It is not a state. It is not in any of the states. It's its own weird thing. It is a city. Okay, now let's get some facts. Washington, D.C. has no senators. The people don't have a vote in the Senate. There's no senators. Okay? The people, the 4 million that live in Washington, D.C. They have no votes in the House either, in the House of Representatives. They have a non-voting delegate or 2 delegates to the House of Representatives, but they can't vote, and they have nothing for the Senate. Not even a delegate that can't vote. D.C. has a legislative council. Okay, this council can make laws, but any law or budget that the Washington, D.C. Legislative Council passes has to be approved by the Congress of the United States. And the United States Congress can just wipe it out and cancel it or modify it. And Washington, D.C. can't do anything about it. They have no control. D.C. has their own courts. They have two levels of courts. They have a regular court and an appellate court. Okay? But who appoints the judges in these courts in Washington, D.C.? Not the people of Washington, D.C. The United States President appoints the judges in the lower court and the appellate court in Washington, D.C. How unusual. It's not a state, but it's a district, okay? When criminals are convicted felons in Washington, D.C., they go to serve their sentence in the federal penitentiaries under the Bureau of Prisons of the federal government. There are no state jails. They have what you might call city jails. And the city jails are used to house prisoners that maybe get a short sentence for drunk driving or shoplifting or fighting or drunk. But if they get sentenced to more than a year in jail, they go to the federal penitentiary system. No other state works like that. They all have state prisons. So you get arrested by the Washington, D.C. police in Washington, D.C. for breaking Washington, D.C. laws, and you wind up in the federal penitentiaries if it's a felony or a sentence of more than a year. So Washington, D.C. has no autonomy. It can't do anything for itself. It's totally controlled by the federal government. To make sure that nothing unusual happens in Washington, D.C., they created a federal appellate court system for Washington, D.C., a federal appellate court system. So one could appeal anything the Washington, D.C. courts come up with that they don't like in the federal system. And the federal system is, of course, Washington, it's the government, okay? So they have no control over anything, although there's 4 million people there. 29% of Washington, D.C. is land that is owned, operated, controlled by the federal government. And these would be monuments, parks, government buildings like the White House and things like that. All right? So that is why Washington, D.C. is not on the flag. And this is a unique situation, probably unlike any other country that I ever heard of. And that's why in Revelation 17:18, it's referred to, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Well, today, no, but going back some years, America was reigning over everybody. China was afraid of them. All the people were afraid of them. Iran had the Shah. They were running the world. No more, but they were. Okay? So you need to understand why the District of Columbia is very different. Now, it says in Jeremiah 50:51, they're mad upon her idols. All right, so we'll have to take a couple of minutes. And I'm not going to cover all the idols in America, but I'm going to cover a couple of things for you. I want to show you what a Roman temple looks like and what a Greek temple looks like, okay? And then I'm going to show you government buildings in the United States, and you're going to see that they're very, very, very much like Roman and Greek temples. And we'll cover what gods those jerks used to worship too. Um, well, that didn't work out, but maybe this will. This is an ancient Roman temple, and you could see, note the Typhium in the front. That's that triangle where they put graven images in typically, but they may have fallen off over time. But note the pillars and everything. Roman temple. Okay, now let's go to a Greek temple. Here's the actual ruins of a Greek temple, and you can see the pillars and the Typhium, that triangle where they put graven images in there, which may have fallen off. Okay? So they're pretty identical. Okay? The churches don't cover this stuff, by the way. They don't want you to know. Now, this is the United States Supreme Court building. It obviously is a dead ringer to a Greek and Roman temple, right to the Typhium triangle in the front with the graven images. I don't know who the heck those phony gods are in the graven images, but you can see it's identical. The Supreme Court is a temple to worship unclean spirits. Okay, the pillars is a big key to that, all right? Here's the White House. Do you see anything familiar like a Typhium triangle in the pillars? It's a demonic temple in itself. They don't have the graven images up there. They're afraid to let that cat out of the bag. I'll do one more and then I'll consider it point made. I mean, I'm not gonna, we could sit here for hours and go through tons of these things. State capitals, city capitals, and all of this nonsense. It's all the same garbage, you know. They're building these things and they're worshiping unclean spirits in there. That's what they're doing. This interesting structure, Roman Greek temple, is called the New York Stock Exchange on 11 Wall Street. The biggest financial institution, I would say, in the world. It's got the Typhium with the graven images and the pillars, the whole bit. Okay? That too is a temple. See, when it says mad upon her idols, they're not kidding. Now, we're going to start letting the cat come out of the bag now. This is your Statue of Liberty. It's got the pillars, and at the top of it is a statue of a flat-chested person, apparently a woman, but we don't know, holding the light on a pillar, on the top of a temple. Okay? This is the depiction of the great whore, Columbia. Now, where do we see this where it's a little bit more of a giveaway as to the name Columbia? I'll show you. I gotta get a good picture of this. It'll just take a minute and I'll find one. Gotta have a good picture of it somewhere. Here's an old poster for recruiting for the American military. Notice the American flag. And it's called Columbia. It says Columbia Calls. Gee. I sort of made my case already, but I'm not done. I'm looking for a better picture, but I don't have it. I don't want to spend a lot of your time doing this. Here's the Columbia Motion Pictures icon. Please note the name is Columbia. There's that, whatever it is, something looking like a female flat-chested, standing on a pillar. I don't see the columns because they don't show us everything, but I'm sure they're probably supposed to be there in reality, but they're not depicting them. And holding the light, come to me, I have the light, I am the way. Okay? Now, is that a male or a male looking like a female? I have no idea. Okay? I have no idea. Here's a better picture of the thing standing there. Okay? So, it's the Statue of Liberty. Okay? It's Columbia. And that's what they named the head of the United States after, which is so much ahead of the United States. It's not even part of the United States. It's special. Very unusual in the world to ever encounter anything like this. I know of no other instance. So when you read mad upon her idols, you know, look at the Supreme Court with those idols up there in the Tiffium, graven, three-dimensional. It's a Roman Greek temple. It's a Babylonian temple. Is what it really traces down to. Babylon preceded Greece and Rome. Okay. I'm starting to let the cat out of the bag. All right, let's go back to the Bible. Let me check the chat and see if I got to throw the garbage out. People coming in here and insulting us. Somebody posts, help, please. I have no idea who you are or what you want. So what am I supposed to do? If you ask for money, I guarantee you nobody's going to give you any. Nobody knows who you are. Why would they do that? Okay. So where were we? And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. This is Revelation 17:6. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. So the beast carrieth her. The beast is supporting her. She's riding on the beast. The beast is supporting her. Okay? Carrying her. The beast that thou sawest was and is not. So the beast was operating on earth and is not, because it's in the pit, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, which it does. And then when Yeshua returns down the road quite a piece, he gets thrown into the bottomless pit, ascend out of the bottomless pit rather, and into perdition, which is the lake of fire. I'm sorry. So when Yeshua returns, the beast and the false prophet get thrown into the lake of fire. The talking statue that comes to life is irrelevant. It's a statue. It just goes to dust. It doesn't go to the lake of fire. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. So names are put in the book of life at the foundation of the world. How interesting. When they behold the beast that was, it was on earth, is not, and yet is, comes back, and then goes to the lake of fire. And here is the pits, not the lake of fire. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. See, the pit is in the bottom of the earth. With the parable Yeshua told us of the rich man and the beggar sits outside his gate and waits for the crumbs off his table, which probably means the stuff that they don't eat, you know, it goes to him, you know, as charity. Let me see what this is. Hello? Oh, okay, Cheetah. Okay, you have English or Rocket Read? Okay, where are you now? Neville Bed, yes. Oh, okay, did you go to the second gate? The one closest to Saint Semek, the second gate? Did you go there? The gate to get in Peru. Yeah, the one for Peru Elite. You go up and you hit the key car. Yeah. Yeah, the one closest to the hospital's not the right one. The one farthest away from, yeah. You go up to the key car, and you turn around and you go to, I think it's Shalosh Rakov. It's Derek HaShaket. You make a right. Yeah. Okay, when you come up, call me and I'll go out. Okay, thank you. Okay, bye. Sorry guys, that was a delivery. I was expecting the guy. So let me take a break for a second and I'll be right back. I'm gonna bring in the dogs. So I'll be a couple of minutes maybe. Go ahead. Go home. Sorry guys, but I'm a one-man show. I don't have a big multi-million-dollar church. I don't have a conference building. I don't go to the church and tickle their ears to raise money. Churches hate me. Okay. So, when you preach the true gospel, few people listen to you. That means few people give you offerings. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and many find it. Straight and narrow is the true path, and few find it. Okay, so sorry about that. So now we're in, let's say, 17 verse 9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are mountains. Mountains are big. This is the continents. The 7 continents. On which the woman sitteth. That's the United States used to run all the continents, but in recent years no more. Well, she's trying to assert her control, but it's not working. Look at Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, and so on. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen. 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Okay, so 5 of these kings or empires are fallen. All right, let's take a good historical guess at who those are. Okay? I made a list. I just gotta find it. Here it is. Greece, Rome, Assyria, Babylon, and the Persia Empire, which is sort of kind of like the Median Empire or something, the Persian Empire, okay? That was them, as far as I can tell. Okay, I'm no historian, but that's what it looks like. Greece fell, Rome fell, Assyria fell, Babylon fell, and the Persian Empire, the Medes, whatever, fell. The one that is referencing the whore. So that's America. The one that is America. That's the time frame for that particular prophecy. Okay? Now, some of you are going to say, who was the beast, or what was the beast working with when he was? He was, then he's in the pit, then he comes out, then he goes to perdition, the lake of fire. The beast was the old Babylon. Why do we say that? Why do I say that? Because there's so many references to it. That's why. It's not Greece or Rome or Persia or anything. It's Babylon. Because it references the daughter of Babylon, America, in Jeremiah 50:51. It says, this Nebuchadnezzar, speaking of the head of America. Nebuchadnezzar was the Babylonian king that Cyrus took over to conquer them and let the Israelites return to Israel. So, Babylon, the king got turned into a beast and wandered in the fields with claws and hair for 7 years. He was a beast. It's the beast. Okay? Old Babylon was the beast. Okay? And it was said about old Babylon in the Bible that it will never rise again. And it never did. Never will. But the daughter of Babylon is not Babylon. It's a different country, America. Okay, but the attributes are very similar to Old Babylon. Old Babylon was a city. There was a city, Babylon, like Washington, D.C. It was very wealthy, like America. Okay? It had different idols, like America. The big idol was Marduk, which they changed the name to Bel. And we see references to Bel in Jeremiah 50:51 pertaining to America, the daughter of Babylon. So again, that's another clue. Okay? In 2 Kings 17, verse 30, we see I'll read it. Well, I can just tell you what it says. It's not that big a deal. 2 Kings 17:30. The Babylonians made an image of their god. Okay, just like in Revelation, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they make an image to the beast, and they have to worship the beast. It's very close to what happened in Old Babylon. Marduk was Bel, which was probably the beast, and they had a statue to him. And then the Romans and Greeks spun it off, and they went with Zeus, which was probably the same jerk. Okay. Now, speaking of Zeus and the daughter of Babylon, so let's take a look here for a minute. Now, the gods changed their names to throw the people off. You got Zeus and this and that. But what about America? What did they do? Well, they went with Neptune. And I guess Neptune's just another way of the beast changing his name from Zeus and Murdoch and Bel, and it's the same jackass, I assume. And at the United States Library of Congress, they've got a picture of Neptune, a demonic image, three-dimensional graven image of this idiot at the Library of Congress. Let me give you some close-ups of what they got there. I mean, it's sick. Okay, that's the beast, I'm pretty sure, who they mean it to be, okay? So, that's pretty sad with America, and they don't teach you that in the school, do they? No. And the President of the United States in Jeremiah 50:51 is referred to as this Nebuchadnezzar. And Babylon was a rich and very powerful country. It was the wonder of the world, like America at one time. And how did Babylon get destroyed? Cyrus came, tried to attack, it didn't work, I think the same day. He took his army and dug 28 tributaries to the river running under the walls of Babylon, because they were locked in their walls and were just going to wait them out. And during the night, it drained the river into the tributaries they dug, and his army just walked under the wall. And when they woke up in the morning and had their slaves serve breakfast, they realized they were occupied by an army. So it happened in a day. How does the daughter of Babylon go down? In an hour, in a day. Okay? Getting the picture? It's not that hard. If you get into the habit of listening to the churches, you get very confused. So the beast has his kingdom for a brief period of time, okay? But that happens way down the road, okay? Israel, when you have the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds and they get everlasting life, that's foreign to many of you, but just read Zechariah 12:10 and combine it with John 6:40 and you'll get the picture. And then you could go to 1 John 3 verse 2 if you want more strength in that. These have one mind and shall give their power and their strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Well, this is the tribulation, but before you have the tribulation, you're going to have Gog and Magog, the great falling away. It happens first to the Israelites, then the nations, and then the nations get the tribulation and the beast, and then that gets shut down with the return of Yeshua. Okay, what's going on in Israel today gets shut down by the appearing of Yeshua. I gotta go get the package, I'm sorry. Yeah. Good, are you here on the street now? Yeah, you gotta go up to Derek HaShaked and turn left. And you go 300-400 meters. Give me 1 minute or 2 minutes, I'll be out in the street, okay? When you're coming up, you're coming from the Bet Knesset, you're going up the hill, right? Yeah, you just go look for Derek HaShaked and turn left before you go to the Kakar, you'll see it. Or you can go to the Kakar, actually I think you need to go to Kakar and turn around and it's the 3rd street and then you make a right on Derek. You'll see the sign, it says Derek HaShaked. Alright. Yeah, 300-400 meters. I'll be outside in the street. Give me 1 or 2 minutes, okay? Thank you. Okay. Sorry, guys. Everything's hitting me. Ugh. Be right back. This is my high-powered fan. Well, I got an obstacle course here, dogs. That's not cool. Well, that was that. Hopefully that's the last. Oh, wait a second. One second. Who?
War. Did you hear it?
Who's? Oh, that, yeah. Yeah, Hezbollah shooting more missiles and rockets at us. Oh, I'm hearing the explosions. That's not good. They could have been iron domes, I don't know. My wife's teaching a class now on canning. Taking food and putting it in jars. So I hope everybody doesn't get freaked out. All right. I hope you never have to go through this with hearing missiles and rockets explode. I'm still hearing it.
Kim, this is us. The rockets are taking it down, but they're being shot at us.
I hear it, I know.
No,
Okay.
I mean on the map. It shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. My wife doesn't take this calmly. Okay, so where were we around? So, well, they're keeping it up. See, this is what happens when you have a moron Satan bot with conflicted interests like Netanyahu and every other country in the world. You have stuff like this, you know. Why did Netanyahu let Lebanon build up a big arsenal of missiles all these years when they were threatening to destroy us? You see the problems with this? So, where were we? Let's see. Okay, and there are 7 kings. 5 have fallen. We covered that. One is, that's America. And the other is not yet come. And it's going to be for, probably at least 50 years, maybe 60 years, because it's the second 70 of Daniel 9:24. Every Hebrew manuscript I ever came across, and I came across quite a few, of the Old Testament interprets Daniel 9:24 as 70-70, Shavim. The word Shavim means 70, so it's saying there's 2 70s on Israel. Okay, not weeks, that's bogus, that's a lie. They know it's a lie. They're lying to you on purpose. The translators know that. So it's 77. The first 70 was 70 years of captivity in Babylon. The second 70 is identical. It's a 70-year period. It's going to start with redemption, which is the appearing of the Son and the Son of Man in the clouds. Okay? And it's going to be over when the Gog and Magog is over. But that's not the second coming yet. Because after that, then the nations rise up. Okay? Now, people are confused by the church, and they think that the beast and the Antichrist and the talking statue is set up in the temple of Jerusalem. That's because they're liars, and they confuse the people that are the called but not the chosen. deceive even the very elect if that were possible. Very elect don't get deceived. Those that are called and not chosen, they do. They file into the churches and think they're going to wait bye and they preach rapture. They're crazy. There's no left behind rapture in the Bible. 4 times Yeshua said that all that the Father gave him shall go up at the last day. They all go up on the same day. There's no left behind rapture, and the last day means there's no more days. It's after the millennium. Okay? Satan's released. He gathers the nations, the heathens, like the sand of the sea to surround Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, and Father God from heaven burns the whole universe up, and there's no place to stand, and we go up on the clouds to heaven, and the dead rise also. And we get a spiritual body at that point, which will not experience corruption. Everlasting life, when you see Yeshua, just means you live for a very long time. My people's days will be like that of a tree. Now you know what that's talking about. A child shall die 100 years. That can't be an incorruptible body, because they, a tree eventually dies, and, a child dying at 100, come on. Church never talks like that to you. They just push it on you and they shove it down your throat. And the people that go there do not have the Holy Spirit, and they don't know how to study the Bible. Without the Holy Spirit, it doesn't work. So they get deceived and they fall prey to these idiot doctrines. And they run around propagating them or spreading them to other people, which is very bad. Because when you're spreading them to other people, you're preaching a false gospel. Okay? And preaching a false gospel is very, very bad. But they do it. Okay? They do not follow the Bible. They violate the Bible. They don't care. They follow the church. They're of the world. They're in the world and of the world. Okay? That's a hard one to swallow for a lot of people, but that's the reality, and the saints are well aware of that. They are not the real church. They never were, and they never will be. Okay? Now, you could, analyze that. After Yeshua was resurrected, there was about 300 or 350 years without a church. Go figure that one out. And then Constantine started the church. He was a heathen. And then it went to the Catholics with the popes. And they were heathen idolaters. So where are the roots of the church? You got it? It's not hard to figure this out, but these people are clutching to a false hope. They're deceived. And if you're not in the elect, you're not going to realize this until they're gone, and they will be gone shortly. Church is enemies of Yeshua and Jehovah. Yes, they are. Why? They spread throughout the whole world a phony gospel that's not real. And they teach errors. They move the Shabbat, which is even in the 10 Commandments. They don't observe it by not working. Okay, they don't make it a holy day. I'm talking 10 Commandments now, right? They don't do that. And they moved it to Sunday. Now, if you were going to worship the sun god Tammuz, which is probably the beast or Satan, what day would you worship the sun god on? Tuesday, Thursday, or perhaps Sunday? Then we got into Christmas. What is Christmas? Mass for Christ from the Catholics. They observe it in all the churches. Merry Christmas, put a Christmas tree up. Let's have a singing Christmas tree. It's idolatry, but it's worse. What does Mass for Christ mean? It's from the Catholics. The Catholics made the Reformed Church, the Christian Church. They did it because the people realized they were being taught trash from the Roman Catholic Church with the Latin, so they set this phony one up. Not hard to understand. Mass for Christ, what does it mean? Every time a person does Mass with the wafer and the grape juice or the wine, they say it drags Christ down from heaven to get re-crucified again. And they say that Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, has no ability to stop it. So every time a church attendee takes Mass, which would be communion in the sicko churches, the Pentecostal and the Catholic and the Assembly of God and the Lutheran, Presbyterian and the Methodist, all of them, right? They call it communion, but they're dragging, and now maybe they're not, but the Catholics are, but they say Christmas, they celebrate it, Mass for Christ. They're dragging Yeshua down from heaven to be re-crucified for every single person that does Mass, which in their minds, I'm sure, is communion. The church is so sick, you have no idea. And the rabbis in the synagogue are equally sick. They're cut out of the same cloth. And the Messianic congregations are nothing more than churches filled with Jews. They're no stinking good either. They have umbrella organizations, which are divisions. Okay, denominations. In Galatians 5:19-21, it says those that do seditions, that's an old English word meaning divisions. A denomination is not 90% like a division, it's 100% a division. And it also says in Galatians 5:19-21, those that do variance. So what is a doctrinal statement but variance? Oh, we're pre-trib, we're post-trib, we're mid-trib. Are you with Apollos or Cephas? It's a division. And the variants and the denominations of divisions, they're also heresies, sects. We don't pray in tongues. We do. We baptize in the Holy Spirit. We don't. We spritz baptism with water. We immerse baptism. We have a house church. We have a building church. It's divisions. It's variants. It's heresies. Your own Bible says if you do such things, you will not inherit the kingdom of God. You are not going to see very many of these church people walking around on the face of the earth anymore. Their days are very brief, and they're not going up in the rapture. They're going to be cut off, and Satan may try to tell us they went up in the rapture, but you'll see their bodies, they're not going. They're going to get cut off, a lot of them. Some of them won't. The leaders, forget it. You ain't going to see them. Okay? All right. Let me check the chat. See, people hate it when I talk about the church. I'll tell you the truth. How could a man of God not know that? And how could a man of God not continually preach it? Because you're dragging $2 billion, 2 billion people down to the lake of fire eventually. 1 billion Catholics and 1 billion evangelicals, Pentecostals, and nominals. Yes, thank you, Daniel. I noticed that. Thank you. Thank you for the prayers. What the heck is multiverse? Please don't spam the chat with something like multiverse. What are you? I don't even know what you're talking about. There's no such word in the Bible as multiverse. So let me just say this to you. If you're going to keep putting multiverse up and spam the chat, I'm going to block you. I removed your posts. If you do it again one time, I'm going to block you. I don't know what you're talking about. and you're just cluttering up the chat with noise. Nobody knows what a multiverse is. What are you talking, Star Wars or something? Come on. All right. The missile rocket attacks stopped. We'll go to 17:12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet. So they're not yet, okay? But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. I was thinking it might be BRICS, but a lot of members of BRICS are going to be destroyed. So it's not BRICS, it's something else. Plus BRICS got more than 10 members now. I think they're at 11 or 12 or something. It's not BRICS. Makes no sense. Sorry that I thought it was at one time, but it's not. These have one mind and shall give their power and their strength unto the beast. So he's going to be like an emperor ruling these countries, I guess. These shall make war with the Lamb, and that's going to be attacking Israel. The Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. They that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. He'll make war with them when you see the great falling away. Okay? And they put up the abomination and make it desolate. Okay? But, you know, I should spend a minute showing you why this doesn't happen in Israel. And when I say why, I mean beyond a shadow of doubt. Okay? Revelation, it's so easy. Revelation 13, 1 and 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. So Apostle John's by the beach, by the seashore, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. This is a vision, an allegorical vision. It's not a literalization, okay? Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. This is the same schmuck that the whore is riding on in Revelation 17. And the beast which I saw was, so, you know, this is obviously when he gets rid of the whores, you'll see she gets burned and they eat her flesh. And the wilderness means a dry place, so it's probably down below, maybe in the pit. And now he comes up to the earth and he passes through the ocean to come up. Okay? And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon. Now, so these are his attributes. It's not him literally with leopard heads and bear heads, and, you know, it's his attributes. It's describing spiritually this way. And the dragon gave him the dragon, of course, is Satan. Satan doesn't look like a dragon, but his attributes again, okay? Gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Satan gives the beast his power, his seat, which is his throne, and great authority. So if we want to know where the beast's seat, throne, temple is, all we got to do is see if the Bible tells us where Satan's seat is. And yes, the Bible does tell us where Satan's seat is. You go to Revelation 2, I think it's verse 12. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos. Pergamos is a city that is what we call Cyprus now, actually North Cyprus by the seashore. Okay? And North Cyprus run by Turkey, which is a Muslim majority country. Okay? Pergamos. Now the new translations screw it up and say Pergamum. But Pergamum is in Turkey, and Pergamos is in North Cyprus, which is really kind of Turkey. But the point is, there's no Pergamum or Pergamos that ever was in Israel or ever will be. So when the church teaches you what happens in Jerusalem, they're either the village idiots or they're deceiving you. Right there. So in case some of you are missing it, a seat is this similar thing to a throne. It's like the same thing. You know how they refer to the president, they'll say, oh, he's a seated president. Okay? You got it? So Biden is a seated president, Trump is not. Okay? You getting the idea? So when the beast has his temple, his shrine, and shows himself off as if he's the greatest god, that's where his seat is, where he'll be worshipped. And that's in Pergamos, in Cyprus, which is never part of Israel. Never was, never will be. And that's where the false prophet's going to be, and that's where the talking statue is going to be, and that's where the two witnesses are going to lay for 3.5 days. Not in Jerusalem. There's a reference in Revelation 11 that the church teaches you means New Jerusalem, because it says Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. But our Lord was crucified outside the gates of Jerusalem, not in Jerusalem. Most likely, he was crucified in the Roman fort next door to the temple. The Israelites were offended by the Roman fort because they had idols in there and they did abominations in there. One of which was worshiping the idols, the statues. And they did other sick things. So they gave that piece of land to Rome as it would belong to Rome, so it was not in Israel, so as to make it legalistically that the abominations were not happening in Israel. Like a country gives an embassy, like America gives the embassy to China or Italy or any country, that's sovereign land, and that land that the embassy building is on is considered the territory of China or Italy or France or whoever they gave it to. Now, if they leave, they can't sell the land, it goes back to America, but you got the idea. American law does not apply to the land that the embassy is on. Okay? You got it? No, Yalfa, go. Stop climbing on me. Come on. You're being nasty to me now. So,
This is the sickness of the church and why they'll be destroyed, because they keep pinning all the bad stuff on Israel. God, because they killed the Messiah through the Romans, God stopped up their ears and closed their eyes, lest they turn to him and be healed. So the punishment in Hosea 6:1 and 2 for 2,000 years would be fulfilled. Guess what? Time's up. Just about. When we hit redemption, it's over, which is days away. And they keep pinning all the stuff on us to keep the people in their verstunken church. Verstunken is Yiddish, it means stinking, for stinking. Yiddish is not the language of the Bible, but when I grew up, it was like a common language in New York. I grew up in a 99.9% Jewish neighborhood. So, this is the crap that the churches teach. Phony rapture, condemning Israel, you know, all this sick stuff, you know. Not long for this world, and the people in it, many of them are going to be dead. So it says in Revelation 2:12, and to the angel of the church in Pergamos write these things, saith he that hath the sharp sword with two edges. So Yeshua is saying the church is in Pergamos. You want to listen to the pastor? Goodbye. Verse 13, Revelation 2. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. So Yeshua is telling you Satan's seat is in Pergamos. 1611 King James is Pergamos, the 1800s King James is Pergamos, the 1599, where's that Bible? One of the old ones from 1599 says Pergamos. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days where Antipas was my faithful martyr. So this is not all for the future, is it? No, as the church teaches. No, it's not. Who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. Where does Satan dwell? Where his seat is. Where's that? In Pergamos. Where's the beast temple going to be? In Pergamos. Where's the false prophet going to be? Right next to the beast in Pergamos. Where Satan dwells, and Satan gives power and authority to the beast. It's very plain. Except the people filling the churches are not the elect. They're the ones that hear the call, but they're not chosen. They don't have the Holy Spirit. 2 Corinthians 11:4 says they have another Jesus, they have another gospel, and they have another spirit. They do have another spirit, an unclean spirit. When you become a member, this furniture being moved. When you become a member of the church, they call you up and they lay hands on you, and that's how they pass an unclean spirit into you. Lay hands suddenly on no man. Because if you lay hands on somebody you don't know, they'll trick you. You think you're healing them, and they'll pass an unclean spirit into you. It can go both ways. You're giving them permission to lay hands on you, and they pass the unclean spirit into you. You're in sin when you do it. What are you doing in a church? Why are you even in there? Come out from among them, touch not the unclean thing. What do you think that is? Yeshua said in Matthew 7, not everyone that says, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. And there's going to be many that say to him, but Lord, we cast out demons in your name. That ain't the Jews. They don't do anything in his name. That ain't the Buddhists. That ain't the Hindus. That's the church. We did many mighty works in your name. We prophesied in your name. That's the church. What does Yeshua tell them? I never knew you. Why? He says, your workers of iniquity. What does iniquity mean? It's a word they put in there to confuse you. It means lawlessness. What does the church teach? The law is done away with. What did Yeshua teach? Matthew 5. Don't think I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I came to fulfill. For as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the law. And they sit and teach that the law is all done away with, and the church people are perfectly content with that, even though it contradicts the words of Yeshua. What are they doing? They're rejecting the words of Yeshua. What does the Bible say? If you reject knowledge, you will be rejected. What happens in Matthew 7? We did mighty works in your name. We cast out devils in your name. We prophesied in your name. Left hand, lake of fire. I never knew you, workers of iniquity. See, the church people don't want to hear this. They run away. They call me an apostate, an idiot, a lunatic, an evil person, whatever. They don't know any better. They're not the elect. They're never going to know any better. Either you're for him or against him, and they're not for him. They have another Jesus, 2 Corinthians 11:4. They got the December 25th one that changed the law. Remember it says they shall change the times and the seasons? Well, that's in the church. We switched over to Sunday from Saturday of making an abomination of the Sabbath. Christmas is the biggest holiday in every church. Mass for Christ. Let's have communion and drag Christ down from heaven involuntarily and re-crucify him for every person that takes communion in the church. It's the same as what the Catholics do. They're telling you it's communion, but they're holding Mass. And what does it say in the Bible? If you take communion unworthily, it says many of you are sick and dead because you took communion unworthy. It says that in your Bible, you know that, and that's one of the explanations for it. Touch not the unclean thing. You take communion with these jackass witches in the church. What do you think the leaders are but witches? Come on. You want to shoot the messenger? I admit I'm the messenger, but it doesn't change the scriptures. The scriptures are going to be what convicts you at the judgment. They teach that all you got to do is know who the Lord is, Yeshua, and you're going to be saved. What does Yeshua say? Not everyone that calls me Lord, Lord shall enter the kingdom of heaven. Do they change? No. When Yeshua taught us about the good trees with the good fruit and the bad trees and the bad fruit, he taught us that bad fruit does not come from a good tree. And good fruit does not come from a bad tree. They're absolutes. The church is obviously a bad tree. Nothing good comes from them. You get no truth from them. Oh, but they preach Jesus. They preach the other Jesus. They preach the gospel. They don't. They preach another gospel. 2 Corinthians 11:4. They don't spread the gospel around the world. They spread the false gospel around the world. They're false. But the leaders know what they're doing, but they think they beat God. They probably think Gog and Magog and the beast and all that, or the beast and the false prophet stuff is gonna, the tribulation stuff is gonna happen any day. They probably can't wait for it. You know, I could just imagine, it won't, but I could just imagine one of these pastors sitting there, well, thank you, Marilyn. For 26 years, you faithfully gave 10% of your income. And I want to thank you for it, but you're not taking the mark of my God, the beast, so with pleasure, I'm going to cut your head off right now. You see, that's what they're really like. They're wolves in sheep's clothing. And that's what a wolf is like. We just got an update from our local militia, you would call it, I guess. Let me see what they said about the rockets. Hold on a minute. A short time ago, an alarm which sounded in Kibbutz Ravid, and an alert was activated from the IDF Home Front Command for the residents of Kibbutz Afakim, I think it's pronounced. After checking with the authorities, the alert in Kibbutz Akafim was activated by mistake, while the alarm in Kibbutz Ravid was activated following the firing of missiles into the area. Immediately after loud explosions, sounds of interceptions were heard. So far, we are not aware of any ground impact or property damage. So it looks like we took them down. We ask anyone who comes across a fall or anything suspicious. A fall means a rocket landing. Or anything suspicious, not to approach the area and report immediately to the security coordinator in the settlement or to the police. That's our local militia. They patrol our little village 24/7 with guns, assault weapons, vehicles, communications. And they're predominantly ex-military and ex-police. And they, if we get infiltrators, they'll drop them dead. No doubt. They'll shoot them to death. So they give us bulletins about what's going on. It's good. I mean, and this militia type thing works with the police and the military. And they get their weapons from the military. And when it gets bad, they put up roadblocks to get in the community. What Shmuckenyahu should do, he won't do because he's a piece of satanic garbage, is take the surplus military rifles that we have stored over the years and hand them out to the Jewish citizens. That's it. He won't do it because he's a piece of garbage. Okay. So back to Revelation. Revelation 17:15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and heathens. They say it's the goyim word, means heathens, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. So who can we guess with rather good accuracy who's going to burn America and eat her flesh? It starts in Washington, D.C., as I'll show you. Well, we know China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, and probably Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, and this kind of thing. I don't know precisely who they are, but that was probably a very good guess. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. So remember what this says here. God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will. So they do what he wants them to. And they're burning Washington, D.C. Now, I believe Washington, D.C. is going to burn first and then America. Maybe not that much time in between. It says in Jeremiah 50:51, God says, I will kindle fires in and around their cities, plural. So I was thinking maybe that means God's going to send the fire down, but like Sodom and Gomorrah, but I'm not so sure of that now, because he puts his will in to the people and they do it. So it's likely the sleeper agents are going to do it. But let's keep going. I'll give you more details as we progress. Verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. That's Washington, D.C. That's who the whore is, which basically runs the world, or used to. It's fighting to hang on. That's who the whore is. Okay? And the beast was old Babylon. Then through the whore and the beast built up America, the daughter of Babylon. And then will come the reign of the beast, but quite a few years down the road. Revelation 18:1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. That would be, I believe, the glory of God of Israel. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great, it may not be, but I'm thinking it is, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage, or a place where they hang out, of every unclean and hateful bird. The birds are frequently used to represent the demons. For all, it says with the mustard seed parable, the smallest of all seeds, it makes a great tree, and the birds of the air hang there. So the mustard seed was probably the planting of the church, the real church, the Messianic congregations, like in Acts chapter 2. And eventually the hateful, unclean birds started living in there and took it over and started running the church. For all heathen have drunk of the one. Well, no. Yeah. Where am I? Okay, hold on. Yeah. For all heathen nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Okay, so the fornication occurs when they worship the unclean spirit, the whore, Columbia. Now, Columbia looks like a woman, but it's flat-chested. It may not be a woman. So bear that in mind, okay? Just because it looks like a woman doesn't mean it's actually a woman, okay? You're dealing with Satan here, and we don't know what that is. So it's a very funny depiction of a woman. I don't know what their message is, or even if they have one, but it's pretty odd. And it's universal. It goes, with the Statue of Liberty, the Columbia Motion Pictures icon, and so forth. It's kind of a funny looking woman. It's hard to figure out what they're actually after, but it's weird. So if the kings of the earth do the fornication through America with the whore of Babylon, they start waxing rich. America sees to it. The people don't get rich, but the demonic leaders do. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, oh my gosh, this thing's driving me crazy. It's jumping around. I may need to reboot it. I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. So, are the true believers supposed to come out of Mecca and Medina? They're not there. Rome, they're not there. It's America. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her lawlessness. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. Okay. She gets a double punishment, like Israel had for 2,000 years. But to the Jew first, then the heathen, or the Goyim, or the Greek, it's the same thing. So Israel gets it first. And when Israel's punishment is over on the day of redemption, beginning of the year of redemption, I imagine America gets it. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. So the survivalists are barking up the wrong tree with listening to these, liars preach fear to them, and they need to buy survival food and guns and stuff like that. It's not going to help them. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Standing afar off, so they're a distance away, for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Now this is to the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., okay? They get it first, apparently, okay? And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. We don't read of invading ships there that would most likely rip off the merchants' ships. But it appears the sleeper agents do this. We saw all those fire balloons that China was launching those weird balloons. And in Gaza, they launched thousands of incendiary balloons at us, which burned 25,000 acres of farmland near Gaza. They took a helium balloon. They made a cluster of 10 or 12 of them, or something like that. They put strings down, they put a little basket, and in the basket they put some combustible material with a fuse. They waited for the wind to be right, then they lit the fuse on the combustibles, waited for it to burn, and then launched the helium balloon basket into Gaza. And it would be booby-trapped. No, I mean, I'm sorry. They sent it out of Gaza into Israel. They lit it on fire, so it would be burning, and then they launched it and it would go into Israel. And the fire would eventually burn the balloons and it would land and cause fires. So they're very well aware of how to do that, and they could do that in America in a massive way with the sleeper agents. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors, perfume and ointments, salves and creams, and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. See, the wealthy homes in New York, they buy fruit in these gourmet grocery stores in New York from all around the world. So they could get cherries on Christmas, in the dead of winter. They could get all the mangoes and papaya in the dead of winter. They get it imported at outrageous prices because it's flowing in. But if you're making, $500,000 a month, you don't care. You want to eat good. And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more. So all their good stuff is departed. What in the world are we talking about here? It's not hard. What we're talking about is when the daughter of Babylon gets invaded, it gets looted, plundered, and pillaged by the invading soldiers. In Jeremiah 50:51, and God says then they're gonna be rewarded. They're gonna get their fill of the loot. So they go around and take everything out of the houses, and then they're probably burning the houses. So the whole America may not burn in a day. At some point, you all got to get out of there. Maybe you get out before the burning starts. But you'll get out. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. And saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. See, I think after the sleeper agents start destroying the American military bases and they burn DC, the enemy warships of America will come in. And I think that would be fundamental for them to carry the loot out. When Hitler hit countries, he looted the whole country. Okay? He went to the museums right away, took all the paintings, statues, all the good stuff worth a lot of money, took that. They confiscated the property of the wealthy people, cleaned their houses out, took the paintings, the statues, the jewelry, the silver and gold candelabras and the silverware, all of that stuff. They took it all. Furs, anything that was expensive and valuable they took. Nice furniture, you know. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. The destruction's in an hour and a day. They looting, I imagine they loot Washington, D.C., maybe as they burn it. They hit the federal buildings, they clean all those groovy artifacts out. When you go in federal buildings in Washington, D.C., they have all these great displays of things historical there, you know. They'll take it. They'll go to the malls and take stuff. They'll go to the Capitol building. They'll go to the White House. They'll go to the Department of State. They'll go all over and take stuff. The stores, the shops, the malls, they'll take expensive cars. All of it. For in 1 hour, so great riches has come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? It's now gone. Now, are these the ships of Tarshish that the Bible says people will be leaving various countries from and coming to Israel via the stop in the wilderness? I don't think so. These are merchant marine cargo container ships. What about the cruise ships? That's probably the real ones. God will arrange it for them to carry believers out of from different countries. Some countries they're not going to go by ship; they're going to go by land. I don't read of any air travel in there, so I don't know if they're going to go by air. If combustion engines weren't working, I don't know what ships they would go on. Sailboats. There's not that many sailboats, and they don't carry very many people. The big cruise ships carry 3,000 to 5,500, but if you start adding more people, and you could probably get 6,000 or 7,000 passengers in there, just have people share rooms and things like that, you know. There's a lot of ships that hold 3,000 people or more, plus crew. I don't know how God's going to do it, but the sailboats don't sound right to me. Wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is made desolate. Now this is talking about Washington, D.C. It'll happen to the rest of the country, but I think they start with Washington, D.C. So it seems that the sleeper agents will probably begin their attack on D.C. But we'll get all the details, you know. They might be attacking and burning. They might attack and then burn. It might be the same thing. Because we read of her being attacked in Jeremiah 50:51, and America tries to surrender, give her hand. So it could be that they attack and then they burn. They attack, then they loot, then they burn. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And the mighty angel took up a stone, like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon, again it's the city, Washington, D.C., be thrown down, and shall be found no more. Why throwing it in the sea? Because after the fires, the Lord has the waves wash over the whole daughter of Babylon to put the fires out, because things, you'd have glowing embers and stuff continuing to burn. And the way this finishes up is the animals live in the houses and the mansions and the buildings forever. People never live there again. The animals do. So there needs to be a place for the animals. You can't, burn everything up. They have nothing to eat and all that. The other thing is, if it was a nuclear attack, for something like 20 or 50 years, no animals would be there. It's ridiculous. There's no nuclear attack. And the voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman whatsoever of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more in thee, and the light of a candle shall shine no more in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Okay. The people that own these shipping companies are tremendously wealthy. Aristotle Onassis, the one who married Jackie Kennedy, was one of those. They're very wealthy. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that was slain upon the earth. So she was a pretty evil, wicked thing that needs to go. All right, let me check the chat. Okay. Well, this guy just wants me to block him, so I'll block him. Get rid of him. It's annoying. Children, the children are either they're literally children or they act like children. Christos does not mean life. Christ comes from Christos, which comes from Mashiach in Hebrew, which means anointed. It does not mean life, it means anointed. The invaders of America. If you want to do spiritual warfare over the guy I blocked, go ahead. Because that's espat behavior. You ask them not to do it again. And when you do that, they have to do it again. That's how the Satan bot behaves. So that was a Satan bot. Just an annoyance, waste of time. So let me check my notes and see what I forgot, if anything. Revelation 18:6. Reward her even as she hath done. Reward her even as she rewarded you. It's speaking of the Israel. And double unto her, double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. October 7th America caught wind it was going to happen. All of a sudden, Biden became friends with Netanyahu. Says, "Come over here." September 23rd or 24th, he goes over there. Then October 7th happens, and we have our guard down. So it appears rather obvious that it was allowed to happen by Israel. They didn't initiate it, but they just let it happen. And now, you know, Netanyahu's not cooperating with Biden. He turns against them. They fight. They don't get along. Netanyahu's facing 3 criminal charges. He's got to get out of that. He needs to become a war hero and then hope he could change the legislation and kill the courts and all this stuff. They behave like children is what they do. They behave like children even though they're adults. They're like children. So they're going to get it back double for what happened to us. Did Israelis get burned on October 7th? Yes. They took women and children, tied them together with wire and burned them alive. They burned people in their houses. They cut fetuses out of a mother. They raped women in front of their families and then killed them. And, you know, they're sick. They're criminally insane. And then the nations yell at us for genocide after they did that to us. Can you imagine? Let's see what nations are really mad at America now. China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Gaza, Cuba. We got 10. See, there's cargo ships that sit in the American ports and they go offshore from America a few miles where you can see them. They don't go far, you know, 1.5, 2.5, 3 miles. You could see them clearly. And they wait for their turn to get called into port, which sometimes could be 2 or 3 weeks. So it could be that we have to leave time after DC burns for the looting and the pillaging and the murdering of the people, and they're probably going to plunder, pillage, loot, and burn as they go. So I don't believe you could loot the entire country and kill so many people, including all the military, in an hour or even in one day. So it's probably going to take more time, but you may already be out of there. Probably you will. They may try to keep people there and not come to Israel, the Jews, for instance. That could be what the FEMA camps are for. They got those FEMA camps, but they've never used them. They keep them They don't put people from hurricanes or any other disaster in there. Fires, hurricanes, no. So they could be in reserve for the Jews, the Israelites, to keep them from going to Israel. Don't know. So I'm unsure if that's what it is, but it could be. We'll have to see. You know, all the little details you're going to have a lot of trouble pulling out of the Bible prophecy, you know. Like, what happens to Dallas, Texas? How are you going to get that out of Bible prophecy? What happens to Beverly Hills? Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Malibu, you know, Miami Beach, Treasure Island in Miami. We don't know. These are all little details. We don't know. We don't know. So I'm still waiting for the guy for the solar to get back to me and sit down and talk to me and explain everything to me and how much it's going to cost. And I'm still hoping some people will contribute more money so we can get more solar. So that's where we're at with that. I hope you got something out of this today. And I hope I helped some people. Let me take a fast look while we're all here and see if there's anything exciting going on in the Israeli social media that I get, which gets you a lot of information a lot faster. Well, you get good information. The media gets you confusing information. Yeah, it was a large barrage of missiles that I don't have a count in the lower Galilee, which is us. Everybody says, oh, Israel's got to stop it. Yeah, but they voted for that idiot Netanyahu. Now they're reaping what they sow. That mental midget. Tiberias had interceptions. Missiles were coming into Tiberias. This is amazing. Sharia law has reached KFC in Ontario, Canada. All the meat is to be halal, which is a torturous, cruel, evil form of killing animals. And pork is to be discontinued. They may soon ask the women to have a head covering before they get served. Yeah. I don't know why Jimmy Dean doesn't step forward and send 40 or 50 tons of pork to Gaza. Become an American hero. Jimmy Dean would be the official pork source of the White House, I guess. After that, huh? more food aid cans of beans thrown in the street in South Gaza. There is such a surplus of food, they just get rid of them. And in 3 days, I'm going to put this up on my Telegram. There's a video. There's piles of cans of beans in the street. Now, let's see if it was pork and beans. That would No, I don't think it was pork and beans. Gee. And then they'll call genocide again. There's no genocide there. There's cigarette side. They can't get enough cigarettes. Let me see if I got news anywhere else. Hold on. Yeah, China sent some troops to Belarus, but they say it's like a roughly about a 10-day military exercise. Will the Chinese troops stay in Belarus? My guess is no. My guess is it was a warning to NATO that they can deploy a lot of troops to the region if they want to. But China may not be serious about that. They might have sent 200 or 300 soldiers over there to make Russia look good and stuff like that. But that doesn't really mean they're ever going to deploy for real like 100,000 soldiers. Although North Korea keeps offering to do that. And they might, Russia might take North Korea up on that, but I have a feeling that the North Korean soldiers would fall like flies over there. I don't think they could hold up. I don't think they'd make it. But also they wouldn't know how to work with the Russian soldiers. There's a language barrier, a culture barrier, a technology difference. I don't see how it would work. Let's see what's going on here in the chat. No, you're wrong. Mashiach is a word that means anointed. Messiah is the English version. It means anointed. It's used 104 times in the Old Testament. Many, many times to mean anointed or anointing, not Messiah. I know what I'm talking about. You're wrong. For this corruptible must put on incorruption this mortal, right? Okay, that's 1 Corinthians 15:50-ish. Okay. You're 100% wrong on your Christos Christ Mashiach. I'm telling you, you're wrong, okay? I know what I'm talking about. I live in Israel. I know. You're wrong. Okay? They made the word Messiah up from Mashiach. Okay? That's what they did. All right. So that's basically what I wanted to get across today. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and please pray for me and my wife Rivka, for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies, and pray for our finances, and pray we do the right thing about the solar energy, and pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues, to be happy, healthy, and whole, and pray for better videos, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I don't think anything's going anywhere on the ceasefire. The Arab nations that Hamas wants to come in here and supervise the ceasefire are basically telling Hamas to go take a long walk on a short pier. They're not getting involved. They don't want to be in a position where the crazy Hamas starts shooting rockets, and they're supposed to stop Hamas, and if they try to stop them, Hamas will kill them, and if they don't stop them, Israel will counterattack, and they may get killed, because Hamas would launch the missiles 25 or 50 feet away from the buildings housing the soldiers doing the watchdog thing. So they're not that stupid. So we'll have to see what happens. But I really don't see a ceasefire. Their demands are not what Israel wants at all. The first thing for a ceasefire, Israel's going to want plenty of hostages back. And Hamas doesn't even tell us the names of those that are living. They don't tell us how many living hostages there are. There might not be very many. There might be 2 or 3. We don't know. We just don't know. The hostages are being kept as slaves. They're being kept as sex slaves. The men have been raped. The women get raped. And they have to clean houses and perform duties for their slave masters. And the UN doesn't do anything about it. Because we're just a bunch of stinking Jews to the UN. What do you think it is? Okay? They don't want Satan to not reign. They want Satan to reign. They lose. Coming to the end of the line for them. So I keep bringing these things out, so when you see these people preaching the other gospel, wiping their feet on the scriptures, changing the Sabbath to Sunday, things like this, don't feel sorry for them. We can't move forward with people with that like that. They reject the truth. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach for the second time, and I'm out. I hope you got something out of it. I think you probably did. I think it came out pretty good. You could email me questions. You could email in prayer requests, and we were pushing 3 hours, weren't we? Not quite there, but okay. I'm out. Thanks.